Chapter 5. Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master, and honourable, because by him the Lord had given deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man of valour, but he was a leper. And the Syrians had gone out by companies, and had brought away captive out of the land of Israel a little maid, and she waited on Naaman's wife. And she said unto her mistress, Would God my Lord were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for he would recover him of his leprosy. And one went in and told his lord, saying, Thus and thus said the maid that is of the land of Israel. And the king of Syria said, Go to, go, and I will send a letter unto the king of Israel. And he departed, and took with him 10 talents of silver, and 6,000 pieces of gold, and 10 changes of raiment. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, Now when this letter is come unto thee, behold, I have herewith sent Naaman my servant to thee, that thou mayest recover him of his leprosy. And it came to pass, when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he rent his clothes, and said, Am I God, to kill and to make alive, that this man doth send unto me to recover a man of his leprosy? Wherefore consider, I pray you, and see how he seeketh a quarrel against me. And it was so, when Elisha the man of God had heard that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, Wherefore hast thou rent thy clothes? Let him come now to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel. So Naaman came with his horses and with his chariot, and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. And Elisha sent a messenger unto him, saying, Go and wash in Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean. But Naaman was wroth, and went away, and said, Behold, I thought he will surely come out to me, and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, and strike his hand over the place, and recover the leper. Are not Abana and Pharpar, rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? May I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage. And his servants came near and spake unto him, and said, My father, if the prophet had bid thee do some great thing, wouldst thou not have done it? How much rather then, when he saith to thee, Wash and be clean? Then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God. And his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. And he returned to the man of God, he and all his company, and came and stood before him. And he said, Behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel. Now therefore, I pray thee, take a blessing of thy servant. But he said, As the Lord liveth before whom I stand, I will receive none. And he urged him to take it, but he refused. And Naaman said, Shall there not then, I pray thee, be given to thy servant 2 mules' burden of earth? For thy servant will henceforth offer neither burnt offering nor sacrifice unto other gods, but unto the Lord. In this thing the Lord pardon thy servant, that when my master goeth into the house of Rimmon to worship there, and he leaneth on my hand, and I bow myself in the house of Rimmon, when I bow down myself in the house of Rimmon, the Lord pardon thy servant in this thing. And he said unto him, Go in peace. So he departed from him a little way. But Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said, Behold, my master has spared Naaman this Syrian, in not receiving at his hand that which he brought. But as the Lord liveth, I will run after him, and take somewhat of him. So Gehazi followed after Naaman, and when Naaman saw him running after him, he lighted down from the chariot to meet him, and said, Is all well? And he said, All is well. My master hath sent me, saying, Behold, even now there be come to me from Mount Ephraim 2 young men of the sons of the prophets. Give them, I pray thee, a talent of silver and 2 changes of garments. And Naaman said, Be content, take 2 talents. And he urged him, and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags and 2 changes of garments, and laid them upon 2 of his servants, and they bare them before him. And when he came to the tower, he took them from their hand, and bestowed them in the house, and he let the men go, and they departed. But he went in and stood before his master, and Elisha said unto him, Whence comest thou, Gehazi? And he said, Thy servant went no whither. And he said unto him, Went not mine heart with thee, when the man turned again from his chariot to meet thee? Is it a time to receive money and to receive garments and olive yards and vineyards and sheep and oxen and men servants and maid servants? The leprosy therefore of Naaman shall cleave unto thee and unto thy seed forever. And he went out of his presence a leper as white as snow. I loved it so much actually that I had to reread it 3 times to get through the 3rd time, because the first 2 times I was crying as I read it because it's so moving to me. Here we have Naaman, who is the commander-in-chief of the Syrian army. Captain of the host, they would call it. And he's a leper. And he's a very honorable man. The Lord has used him to deliver Syria out of the Assyrian and Babylonian Empire and make them free. They have also captured a small maid who's helping Naaman's wife. She's from Israel. And this maid says to Naaman's wife, "Too bad he wasn't in Samaria. They've got a prophet down there that can cure leprosy." And somebody then goes and tells Naaman. Naaman tells the king. The king writes a letter to the king of Israel. And then they send some silver and 6,000 pieces of gold and 10 changes of raiment, which would be really, 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 really fine clothing. And, not just homespun sort of shirt and something else. This would have been fabulous clothes. And they send this all down with Naaman to meet the king of Israel, who then has a fit, saying, "Who am I to make alive or make dead or whatever? Am I God?" And he thinks that the king of Syria is using Naaman to try and pick a fight with him, because if he doesn't cure his leprosy, then he's afraid that he'll get attacked by the Syrians. And Elisha hears about this and said, "Just send him down to me. He'll know that there's a prophet in Israel." And so Naaman shows up in front of Elisha's place, and Gehazi, who is Elisha's servant, shows up at the front door while Naaman's there on his chariot and his finery. And the Gehazi says, "The prophet says, go dip yourself in the Jordan River 7 times and you will be clean." And then back in the house. And Naaman is mad enough. Ugh! And he said, "Are there not rivers in Damascus that are better than any of these things in Jordan?" Or what, just mad. He thought that he would come out and put his hand on the spot where the leprosy was and call on the name of his God and hit him and everything would be clean and all the rest of it. What's this stupid thing about just go dip in the Jordan? And fortunately, Naaman has intelligent, honorable servants. And one or more of them say to him, "Look at Naaman, no offense here, but if the guy had told you to do some difficult thing, you'd have done it, right? It would be worth getting rid of the leprosy. Leprosy would kill you in the near future sometime." Naaman has to agree. So we're not that far from the Jordan River. Why don't we go do that? Just dip ourselves 7 times. And I can see Naaman getting off of the chariot, picking a spot in the Jordan River, and going and dunking himself under the water the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, the 6th time. And none of those times really is a major deal. But the 7th time, when he goes down, it has to work. He's going to have to come up with no leprosy in order for it to have worked. He goes down the 7th time, he comes up, it's like baby skin all over. It worked. He then wants to go back to Elisha and offer Elisha money and all the rest of it, whatever he can. And Elisha says, no, he isn't going to take it. You don't take money for doing the work of God. Just that simple. You do not do that. And so Naaman takes off and leaves. And then Gehazi finds, oh, well, I'll take some of the money. And so he runs and pretends that he's been sent by Elisha to get some of the stuff. And, of course, Elisha knows when he gets back that he's done this. Is this a time to take money? And so Gehazi, his servant, faithful servant, winds up with the leprosy that left Naaman. What a fitting tribute to greed.